Tomorrow evening, President Cyril Ramaphosa will give his first opening of Parliament address while leading the new coalition government. And it's the first time that the members of the MK party will be in Parliament at the same time. Meanwhile, the ANC scheduled an online disciplinary hearing for its former president, Jacob Zuma, over endorsing MK party. The ANC released a statement that today's hearing proceeding is planned and that the outcome will be communicated in due course. For more on these and other issues, I'm joined by Dr Levy Ndou, Political Sciences and Public Policy Lecturer at the Tshwane University of Technology. So, very good afternoon. Always good to speak to you. And I suppose we'd like to start off with the potential implications for the ANC if Jacob Zuma is found guilty of supporting the MK party while still being a member of the ANC. And obviously that all hinders on whether or not he appears for that hearing.
Good afternoon, Hugo. Good afternoon to the viewers at home. I think it's important to note that when you join a political party, you need to adhere to the constitution of the political party. You also need to adhere to the code of conduct of the political party. Every political organization has got rules and regulations that are binding to members of those parties. And I think what the ANC is doing now is to say, yes, you could be our member, but you need to abide by the Constitution. And even though some would feel that calling Jacob Zuma to the disciplinary committee is just a formality, because in any way, Jacob Zuma has already demonstrated that he is outside the ANC, and also at the same time, he is a leader of another political party that even has representation in government. So that clearly indicates that former President Zuma has continued with his life beyond the ANC. And what the ANC is doing now is only to formalize these issues, because they've got a constitution that in whatever they do, they need to follow it.
It might be fair, or is it fair to say that Jacob Zuma remains a thorn in the flesh of the ANC? Obviously, this hearing was scheduled some time ago. The initial plan was for Jacob Zuma to appear in person. Then the idea was to make it virtual because there were fears for security. Now, Jacob Zuma insists that he would like to appear in a person. There's now also the Tony Yengeni factor, his controversial past, and the impact of the perception of Zuma's defense in the disciplinary hearing. Indeed,
Jacob Zuma is a thorn in the ANC in the sense that, firstly, the ANC made Jacob Zuma, and whatever kind of behavior that he will display, it comes as a result of how the ANC has constantly been treating him as an individual. Secondly, former President Jacob Zuma has gone all out to campaign for another political party and also to recruit from within the ANC. And you would agree with me that the support that the ANC had, especially in KwaZulu-Natal and some parts of Mpumalanga, actually left the ANC to vote for the MK party. And that talks to someone who has taken a decision to destroy the party from within, and that has actually taken place. There could be mixed feelings about former President Zuma being represented by Tony Yengeni. One, some people might assume that because he's being represented by Tony Yengeni could be seen as sympathetic to Jacob Zuma and the MK party. And to a lesser extent, some might even assume that maybe Tony Yengeni is also part of the MK party. Those are just assumptions. But at the same time, it is also very important to have a fair hearing or a fair disciplinary hearing. So it could be good that when you have got a person like Tony again, maybe the ANC will therefore be able to hear and understand the main reasons why Jacob Zuma has behaved in a manner that he has behaved. That has a potential also to assist the ANC in seeing things differently, or to see things in a manner that they're being seen by former President Jacob Zuma and others who are there in the ANC. So depending on what they're going to put on the table, it could assist the ANC or even demonstrate that indeed they are dealing with someone who has been quite defiant. All we need to do is to wait and get the information on the actual reasons that former President Jacob Zuma could present to the disciplinary committee.
Now, Dr. Ndou, given the current political climate within the ANC, how likely is it that Zuma's disciplinary hearing will lead to a further split within the party? And that's obviously, the disciplinary hearing is going to happen, but is it likely that if the outcome is an expulsion, that there will be a further split in the ANC? Will they lose more members?
When you're running an organization, what you have to constantly do is to look at the constitution of the party, and you make sure that you implement what is in the constitution, because you cannot have rules and regulations which you might not implement because of fear that some people might leave the party. I share the view that says that it could be good for the ANC if they remove a person like Jacob Zuma, because firstly, everybody should be treated equally and everybody is bound by the constitution. Number two, here is a leader who has constantly been defying the party. What do you do for the strength of the party? You actually have to make sure that you eliminate such people. And as the party, the ANC should also be prepared to take the consequences, because in any way, members come and members go, and they would leave for different reasons. But it is not possible for a political party to constantly stay or accommodate people that are openly destroying that party, because in any way, if they do not act, the party has a potential to cease to exist.
So tomorrow marks a significant day in the history of South Africa, the opening of the 7th Parliament. And with that, the presence of disgruntled, I'd imagine, members of Parliament. We have seen the EFF parliamentarians who have been disgruntled before, and their behaviour. And this is going to be the first time that we have the MK parliamentarians in a parliament tomorrow. What are your expectations of how they're likely to interact with President Cyril Ramaphosa and certainly other parliamentarians, particularly from the opposition?
Well, I think it will actually depend on what the intentions are. But I think it's important to note that the opening of Parliament is supposed to be a session in which the President is able to talk not only to those who are in Parliament, to the nation about the plans and programs of the government, so that ordinary citizens could be able to know what the plans of government are, and to a certain extent make the government accountable. I think it will be unfair, and it remains unfair, to have some members of Parliament behaving in a manner that will prevent ordinary citizens to know the activities of government, because that is how, and the most important way in which we are able to know and understand what the government has for us in place. But my expectation is that, and I take this from Dr. Sope, who is the member of the MK party, who says they are going to Parliament to engage robustly. They are not hooligans. They are there to make constructive engagements. And that is exactly what I expect from the MK party. The EFF has made a statement through their leader, Mr. Malema, that they are going to change their approach because they are going to be focusing on constructive engagement. And I think it is good for all of us to get our MPs participating in the activities of Parliament constructively, because that is what we elected them to do. But also at the same time, we expect the best of behavior out of our public representatives.
Well, if those remarks by those two leaders, as you say, Dr. Ndou, are anything to go by, then we expect a peaceful Parliament, but with that robust debate. Appreciate your time, Dr. Levy Ndou, political analyst.